You are breathing soil, and that soil is radioactive. Look closely at the floor crack in your basement. A colorless, odorless killer is rising silently from the earth. It is radon gas, born from decaying subterranean uranium. And it is seeping into your lungs right now. In Denver, Colorado, the Davis family bought their dream house. Thomas Davis believed this brick home was their safe haven. He did not know what was breathing underneath the foundation. His wife, Karen, loved the cozy basement playroom. Their son, Ben, spent hours playing on the carpeted floor. But the ground beneath Denver is rich in granitic rock. This granite contains traces of primordial uranium, decaying slowly. As uranium breaks down, it transforms into radium. Radium decays further, releasing gaseous radon into the soil. Unlike solid uranium, radon is a gas that moves freely. It flows through soil pores, seeking the path of least resistance. Your home acts like a vacuum, pulling this gas inward. Thomas never noticed the tiny cracks in the concrete slab. He never suspected the expansion joints or sump pump pit. To the naked eye, the basement air was perfectly clean. But radon gas was accumulating, day after day. It filled the lower levels, slowly rising to the bedrooms. The family slept while the radioactive gas surrounded them. They were inhaling atoms that were ready to explode. Let us look at what makes this soil gas so dangerous. Uranium-238 has been decaying since the Earth was formed. Its half-life is 4.5 billion years. It decays into thorium, then radium, and finally radon-222. Radon-222 has a short half-life of just 3.8 days. This short window is exactly why it is so dangerous. It does not stay in the ground, it escapes rapidly. It migrates upward through fractures in the bedrock. Underneath the Davis home, the pressure was building. Soil gas pressure is typically higher than indoor air pressure. This difference creates a natural suction effect, pulling gas in. The soil contains moisture, nitrogen, oxygen, and radon. Your home's foundation is not a solid barrier. It is a porous sponge with joints, cracks, and penetrations. Radon finds utility entry points, pipe penetrations, and drains. Even poured concrete slab-on-grade homes are vulnerable. Thomas Davis did not know his home had negative pressure. He did not know the earth was venting into his basement. The radon molecules entered the air his family breathed. Once inside, the radon gas cannot escape easily. It becomes trapped by modern, energy-efficient building envelopes. The air exchange rate is too low to flush it. Levels begin to spike, far exceeding outdoor baseline levels. In Denver, the geological risk is exceptionally high. Almost half of the homes in Colorado have elevated levels. But this is not just a Colorado problem. Every house in America interacts with the soil beneath it. In the winter, you turn on your home heating. Warm air rises and escapes through upper-level ventilation. This is known as the stack effect, creating vacuum below. It sucks freezing air and soil gases through the basement. Karen noticed the basement felt slightly drafty in December. She assumed it was just a typical winter chill. In reality, the stack effect was pulling radon aggressively. Ben played on the floor, breathing the concentrated zone. He was closer to the source of the rising gas. Radon is heavier than air, settling in low areas. But air currents from HVAC systems distribute it upstairs. It flows through return vents and circulates through rooms. Even the master bedroom on the second floor was affected. Thomas spent his evenings working in the basement office. He began to wonder about the air quality down there. A friend mentioned radon testing during a casual conversation. Thomas decided to order a simple charcoal test kit. He did not expect to find anything alarming. The test kit arrived in a small cardboard envelope. He placed the canister in the lowest lived-in area. It sat silently on a shelf for 48 hours. During those 2 days, the charcoal absorbed the air. Then, Thomas sealed the container and mailed it away. If you own a home, when did you last test? You might be losing equity and risking your family's health. Subscribe now to ensure you do not miss critical home inspections. Without testing, you are flying completely blind to this hazard. Thomas waited anxious weeks for the laboratory results. When the email arrived, the number shocked him. The report read 18 picocuries per liter of air. The EPA action limit is only 4 picocuries. Their home was more than 4 times the danger limit. What does 18 picocuries actually do to your body? It is the radiation equivalent of hundreds of chest X-rays. Radon decay products are solid, radioactive heavy metals. These are polonium-218 and polonium-214. When you inhale, these particles stick to your airway. They are unstable and want to decay immediately. They undergo alpha decay, releasing a heavy helium nucleus. This alpha particle is like a microscopic cannonball. It crashes into the DNA of your lung tissue cells. The physical impact tears the double helix strand apart. Often, the cell dies, which is relatively harmless. But sometimes, the cell repairs itself incorrectly. This mutated DNA begins to replicate out of control. Over years, this silent mutation becomes lung cancer. Radon is the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. It claims over 21,000 American lives annually. Thomas looked at Karen, realizing the invisible threat. He looked at Ben, who had spent years downstairs. The guilt was immediate, but action was required. He needed to stop the gas from entering entirely. He called a certified radon mitigation professional. The inspector arrived with specialized diagnostic tools. They needed to measure the pressure field extension. They drilled a small pilot hole through the slab. They measured the pressure difference under the concrete. The soil pressure was indeed higher than the room. They had to reverse this differential to fix it. First, they had to seal every visible crack. They applied polyurethane sealant to the expansion joints. They sealed the sump pump cover with airtight gaskets. Next, they needed to install an active depressurization system. They excavated a small pit beneath the concrete floor. This created a suction point for the soil gas. They inserted a 3-inch PVC pipe into the pit. They ran the pipe up through the garage closet. It exited through the roof to vent safely outdoors. But a passive pipe is rarely enough for high levels. They had to install an inline radon fan outside. The fan runs continuously, pulling air from the soil. It creates a permanent low-pressure zone under the slab. Now, soil gas flows toward the pipe, not the house. It is vented above the roofline, dispersing harmlessly. Thomas watched the installer mount the system pressure gauge. The liquid in the U-tube manometer shifted, showing suction. The system was active, working 24 hours a day. It used less electricity than a single light bulb. But would it actually drop the numbers down? They placed a continuous radon monitor in the basement. The monitor logged hourly radon levels electronically. Thomas checked the digital display every single morning. On the first day, the level dropped to 8. By the third day, the level was 1.2. The air was finally safe for his family to breathe. Karen felt a wave of relief wash over her. Ben could play in the playroom without silent danger. They had reclaimed their home from the radioactive earth. Radon is a preventable tragedy, yet millions ignore it. Testing costs less than $50 at local stores. Mitigation costs are comparable to a new dishwasher. It is a small price for your family's lungs. Do not wait for a diagnosis to check your basement. The soil under your feet is always breathing. Are you living above a radioactive granite slab right now? If you are an engineer or homeowner, tell us below. Have you tested your basement, and what were your levels? Let us share testing tips and mitigation costs in the comments. Check your foundation, protect your lungs, and stay safe.